Hi, marketers. This is Dots, and welcome to the Marketing Leadership Podcast. With me here is Dotun Babatunde, Head of Digital at Olam Agri, Nigeria. And we will be talking about effective multi-moment marketing strategies in multi-channel environments. I know you guys are ready, so let's get it. Dotun, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. And you? Nice
I'm
to
good.
be. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you. Thank you so much. And let's just kick off with, like they used to say, my life in 30 seconds, even though you have more than 30 seconds to do this. But do you want to tell us a bit about yourself, your background, your role, and how you've come to rise to the top?
Rise to the top. Okay, interesting. All right. My name is Dotun Babatunde. I'm the head of digital marketing, B2C for Olam Agri. Been working in the marketing communication space for 20 plus years now. Um, where I spend majority of my experience on the agency side, and then the last couple of years I moved to the client side one or two times in my career, but now I'm more on the client side. But my area of specialty is in digital marketing, and I've been working here in Nigeria, like I said, for about 20 plus years, working for clients both big and small, brands both big and small across not just the Nigerian market, but across other African, markets as well. So that I would say has given me experience and understanding of how digital works across different space, different industry and segments. Um, Also, yeah, beyond just digital, also gives me experience of understanding how marketing communication works across the whole 360-degree space of marketing communication. So it's been a quite interesting couple of years when compared to other international markets. We're probably still way behind in some areas, but by and large, it's been a very interesting um, last couple of years. Outside work, I'm married with two children, and I enjoy reading, watching movies, cooking, and then anything technology, things I really enjoy doing. So
Yeah.
I think I do that in 10 seconds or less or more.
Yes. No. That was timely, and I like the fact that you love to cook. Every guy should have that skill. Yeah, I also know during your
Mhm.
career that you've also learned a lot. You know, you always attend events. We're speaking off mic about that, and
Yeah.
you had this training recently. And I mean, forgive me if I'm using the word training, but you could give us exactly what it is on interactive multimedia systems. I was thinking what you think about the future around that. Well, what is the future around, you know, digital buying experiences, interactive web experiences, apps, all these things that is happening, AI? How does everything tie into place to make our lives better in future?
Okay. So that's training is not recent. This is like talking like 20 plus years ago. So that's why I did my master. Yes. So I did my master's in interactive multimedia systems at Liverpool John Moore University in the UK. This was a course I did just at the before what we call digital today is what it is. Back in those days, we used to call it multimedia systems. And so I'll just give a bit of background and context to it in the sense that when I did my first degree in economics and computer science. And I naturally had I was doing very well when it comes to economics without much of an effort. And then the computer science, which I was very much interested in, I was struggling because it was involved a lot of programming, Java and
Mathematics.
assembly code that I just couldn't get my head around. So I graduated just as around the period when PHP was becoming new, the internet was booming during the .com era. So there was this movement towards going from traditional core computer science to now the internet era. And I was like, oh, I'd love to do something different and I saw this course on interactive multimedia systems. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. This gives me an opportunity to be able to do a bit of art, computer science, and a bit of everything, all merged into one. And also looking at how are we pushing the frontier of technology when it comes to multimedia. So I was like, wow, this is great. And so I did that for my master's degree. And my specialization was about what we call telepresence, or which is similar to what we are doing now, being able to interact
Hmm.
with people in place that you can't probably be physically and all of that. So now, 20 years later, we're calling it digital marketing or digital media, so that's what my training has been all about. And then over the last couple of years, I think as a way of staying relevant in this industry, I realized that the only way is to constantly be on board in terms of doing trainings and going for trainings, going for conferences, seminars, both locally and abroad. The biggest challenge we have in Nigeria is that by the time I came back home, it was a totally new field. So a lot of people didn't understand what digital marketing as it is was 10, 15
Yeah.
years ago. And it was an uphill task trying to get people to understand where you're coming from. But now almost everybody's talking digital marketing, digital marketing. So back to your second question about where is the future going to with all this new innovation. I think it's just the way we are progressing. It's just that it's things are moving at a more um, accelerated rate compared to before. Back in
Mm-hmm.
the days, changing, any major change you're expecting to see in, computer science or the digital world as a whole will take an average of what, 2 years? Now, change
Yeah.
is happening at the rate of 6 months and more. New platforms are coming on board, new technologies are coming on board, and it is increasingly becoming challenging to be able to keep up with what is happening. I mean, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? Thread came out from,
Yeah. Yeah.
what was it called? Meta. Uh,
Yeah.
Still trying to grapple with that. You know, Question is, should I be on it? Should we not be on it? Brands are keep asking that same question. Where should I
Yeah.
stay? So technology is going to keep moving and pushing the barriers in terms of what we can and cannot do. And we're also seeing that the level at which consumers or customers are adapting to these technologies are pretty fast. 5G is here, and trust me, things are going to go even, I think, even faster than ever before. So it's a quite interesting future we have ahead of us.
Yeah, you're right about the time it takes stuff to
Yeah.
get rolled out. Because when I first started, which is probably like um I don't know, 8, 9 years before you, I'll be after
Mhm.
you. I we There was nothing like that. It was crazy when I talked to my parents and they wanted me to stick to IT because I also did computer science and um but it's I guess the biggest lesson when it comes to like this digital stuff is to be able to see as much future as you can to make sure you are a part of it. Spatial
Of course.
computing, VR, AR, AI, metaverse, audio marketing, like this podcast now is a very big channel these days. And many of those things is
Yeah.
important for people to look at those things, even in terms of tactics and even in terms of tools, is to try to look before looking as much as possible for your own career. When it comes to for the businesses that you work with or businesses that people work with,
Yeah.
it's important for us to focus on what concerns the business and not jump on everything, right? Try this out. Yes. Does that work for my business? If it doesn't, we shouldn't have any business being there. You get what I mean? And which is going to lead me to my next question, going into the topic now. Some people are just in the habit of grabbing everything that is new, but they don't clean up their house. Their house is so dirty when it comes to like the digital marketing ecosystem. And which is why, in order to do
Yeah.
multi-moment marketing right, your digital maturity needs to be very high. You need to have everything in place. So can you tell us a little bit more about that in terms of how marketers should stop being too distracted with what is going on out there, and they should do everything it takes for them to be ready for multi-moment or multi-channel market?
So the way I about the fact that people, trying to jump on the latest technology or latest trends, the reality at the end of the day is this. First of all, you need to, first of all, understand what is your business objective. What is
Mm,
the reason why you want to be on digital, for example? Um, do you have to be there? But more importantly is the people you are trying to reach out to, are they online? Yes, people will say, oh yes, almost everybody's online. But the question is, the people you are trying to really reach out to, the customers that are trying to reach out, where are they? The difference between digital compared to traditional marketing is that for traditional marketing, it's more about broadcast, which is I am here, this is who I am as a brand, and this is what I have to say. And you have to come to me. For digital, it is the other way around, which invariably means that I have to, as the brand, I have to go to where the customers feel happy and comfortable. Because, like you mentioned, we all have a huge plethora of platforms that we can, use to be able to reach out to people. But more importantly, it's not about jumping on a trend. It's about identifying where your customers are and going to meet them where they're comfortable. So if your customers are on Threads, oh well and good. If they're on Instagram, fine. They're on Telegram, Facebook, you name it. No
mm,
problem. Just be where you are getting majority traction from your customers, as opposed to trying to be everywhere because, oh, this is the newest trend and all of that. You'll just end up finding out that you have station of energy and resources because you're trying to be everywhere. So from the other side, what you also have to understand is, like I mentioned, is having intuition, understanding. This is not just going about what's happening online, also both
mm,
from the side as well as on the brand side. I see a lot of brand managers or agency, members. They rely on everything they find online. But at the same time, I
mhm.
believe that even as a digital person, whether be it you're on the client side or the agency side, it is very much important for you to embed yourself with the customers you're trying to reach out, so that you
Mm,
understand what they are doing, what they're interested in. You cannot do that from sitting down in your office and Googling and all of that stuff. So once in a while,
yeah.
just be able to understand what are the trends, what are the languages, what are the things that they're interested in. You'll be amazed the kind of information you're able to gather just by doing that. Um, so understanding your business objective is critical. Well, once you
Yeah.
understand your business objective, it is much easier for you to know what to measure against or what the kind of results you expect to see. Once you have a clear business objectives, then the KPIs you're looking out for are pretty straightforward, as opposed to trying to be everything everywhere. I've seen brands, especially when in the early days of digital, oh, we
Mm,
want to have 1 million followers in this number of months. And at the same time, we want to grow our brand share or equity in this number of period. And I'm like, wow, you need to be single-minded and very focused in terms of what you want to do and take things step by step. You're not going to um, finish or accomplish everything all at once in a very short period of time. I tell people digital is not a miracle pill. It is not going to solve all your marketing or sales problem overnight. Uh,
mm.
but more important is about creating awareness and then doing things step by step. It's a marathon, not a sprint. That's where I look at digital. Just like you find it almost any other arm of marketing communication.
Yeah, absolutely. And back in the day, we used to spend a lot of money. We worked together back in the day. We used to spend a lot of money trying to grow Facebook followers. I will pay Facebook
Yes.
live followers. I don't know if people still do that anymore, but in retrospect, that was a waste of money. Because if you want to drive podcast followers, that's a different thing because podcasters are more connected than people who are just scrolling through your post in a feed. Well, yeah, those were those days. This is a bit of a connected question again. In terms of resources, and by resources, I'm talking about the kind of human resources, process resources, um, that you need to have in place that are kind of enablers to make sure that we have this multi-moment strategy in place. You know, the Boston Consulting Group and Google worked on something like this, a report that shows how you can transform your digital marketing by just making sure that you have the right process, people, technology, that you have your right strategies in place, and that strategy
Yeah.
might work over time. So
Mhm.
comes to having the right resources, whether it's personnel or the right partnerships, and you've been in the agency and the client side, so you have an idea of how that works. What are some of the things that business leaders, this is for business leaders, should realize, or even marketing leaders that are looking to expand? What are some of the things that you think they should have when it comes to this kind of resources, so that we could really do marketing from a omni-channel approach, as some people will
Yeah.
call it?
So the to answer that question, the way I look at it is having, like I mentioned earlier, understanding your business objective, the KPIs are looking to measure. The tools would vary. I am not one for, oh, let's jump on the latest technology because it's fantastic and beautiful. Oftentimes you find out that they can be quite expensive in some cases and they're not delivering
Mm,
value. At the end of the day, the
mm,
question is, what are you looking to measure? If you do not measure, then how do you know you are successful? So
mm,
having the right set of people, the right set of technology to help you to be able to measure, whether it's Google Analytics or Google Mention or Facebook Analytics or an aggregator tools like HubSpot or what's it called? So many other ones that are out there. So
out there,
having
yeah, yeah.
I mean, there are quite a lot. So having the right tools to be able to measure what you are looking for would help you to know whether you are successful or not. And that's why I say
Mm,
uh, digital has largely changed the way we look at marketing communication as a whole. I had a discussion with somebody yesterday, and I said, look, just like what you were talking about, the fact that people used in the early days, we used to focus on, oh, how many followers do you have? We've moved away from those vanity metrics, as we call them now, to now
mm,
focus on actual KPIs and look at what is the level of engagement? How many leads am I getting? What's the conversion level? Conversion rates and things like that are now more important than ever before. I'm not interested in whether you have 1 million followers. What's the point of having 1 million followers and you only have 5,000 people, engaging with your content? So now it's now looking at what's the level of engagement? What can we do to constantly be there at that right moment, at those micro moments or those multi moments in the consumer journey, to be able to make sure that we are there to be able to reach out to those consumers at those key moments across the whole consumer journey. So it's not just tools for the sake of tools, but having the right tools, knowing the right KPIs, having the right people who understand what they are looking out for. I tell people now, the future of digital is now more about data, 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 data.
mm.
I think in 3 years, people are now, you probably will be hearing people being called digital marketers anymore. It's not going to be business analyst or what's it
Yeah.
called, data analyst and things like that.
Data
Because it's not going
analyst,
to hit it
Scrum Master.
stars and things like that. So now it's going to be about, I see a lot of businesses collect data. But what are you doing with it? How are you remarketing or retargeting your audience? How are you building lookalike audience? All of those things comes with experience of knowing that, look, the challenge is not even just on one part is reaching out to customers, but biggest challenge, as you might be aware, is not just the biggest challenge reaching out to new customers. But when you have a gold mine, is the opportunity to mine the existing customers you have. And I see a lot of clients
Yeah.
they have data on their customers, but they're not using it to the utmost best where possible. So there's a huge opportunity, and also in terms of knowing what to look out for, having the right resources, whether it be it internally or externally. And once you are clear, it's a top-down approach, the way I see it. Once you are clear on your business
Mm,
objectives, on the KPIs you're measuring, it makes it easy for you to be able to plug in everything. what technology do we need? What are the people that we need to make it happen? What partnership do we have to go into for us to be able to meet these KPIs? We're moving from, I don't know if it applies to everywhere else in the world, but from what I see here in Nigeria is that we're moving away from marketing, from building brands and all of that stuff to now more performance marketing. So people are not, back
Mm,
in the day, tell me, oh, I did 10 million, 200 million impressions. People are like, wow. Now, they're like, yeah. So,
mm,
what
mm,
I
mm.
really adding to the bottom line. So those are things that we're now, a lot of clients are now focusing on in terms of what is marketing delivering to the bottom line. And you can't just do
Yeah.
it for the sake of just doing it. So that's the challenge we are facing nowadays more than ever before.
Yeah. And something that is also creeping up and will become widespread globally is demand generation. So what I
Yes.
mean by that is that people are looking at the intersection between what is used to be brand awareness then and what is now performance marketing. And they are going
Yes.
to bring it together to say,
Mm-hmm.
is there a way we can sell to somebody without selling to them? You get what I mean?
True.
That's outside the scope of this episode, but that's also something that's, especially in the B2B, a lot of people are pushing for. I don't think it's very
Yeah.
common. Yeah, people do it in the B2C, but people don't talk about it. So there's not enough popularity, as it were. But I think it will get more popular over time because people are trying to mix those two worlds together. And that might change a lot of other things as well. But that's, that is by the way, as I digress. You mentioned a bit of technology. I'd like to
Yeah.
get your opinion on that. Let's be honest with ourselves. It's not easy to be in the multi moments for every user with human effort. Like we used to
Yes.
say from where we come from, it is not by power. It is by
True.
it is by AI. When it comes
Yes.
to in this or technology in general. And so
Mhm.
my question is: have you seen instances where content automation was used, in multi moment or like you said, micro moment campaigns to, relieve the stress of the marketer in having to be there every time. And feel free to talk about as many channels as you can. I know it's not just limited to one channel, but have you seen a brand?
All
You've worked
right.
with a lot of multinational brands. Have you seen a brand do that kind
Yeah.
of
So,
like, yeah,
um, so a few years ago, I would use, I think, is it Corona Beer, which was a case study that was presented at the seminar that I went for. And they looked
okay,
at how they use Programmatic to push, this kind of multi-moment, scenario that we're talking about. And what they did
yeah,
was that, I still haven't seen that. It was a demonstration by a company, I can't remember who they are. And what they literally did was look at how are you able to create dynamic creatives in real
mm,
time at that micro moment, across whatever touch points, I mean, digital touch, especially online, for the consumer. And I'll give an example of what they tried to do. What they did was
okay,
that, okay, fine. Brand message is more or less the same. But what they did was that they made sure that the ads adapted to the platforms where the the customer found themselves in. Now, when we think
okay,
of dynamic ad, what we naturally think of is just about shape and dimensions of the ad. But in this instance,
yeah.
the ad was changing to suit the context of the platform it found itself. And I'll give an example. So, for example,
Context. I like that word. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. If I find I find that, okay, this consumer, for example, has seem to be interested in the brand, and they moved from, maybe they go to a sports website. The
Mm,
design of the ads they are going to see, it is going to be around sports. Now,
mm-hmm,
if I know, because nobody stays in one page for so long, you move to the next place. And if, for example, he moves to maybe something about home decoration, still the same message, but the graphics is designed to adapt to the environment it finds itself. So moving from a sports-based website to a home decor site, message is still the same, but the background, the design, and everything changed drastically. So you're still it's more or less as if you're like retargeting the person, but the ad is totally different and dynamic as as at when the what's it called, the user, whatever they find themselves online.
Visit.
So
Yeah.
it's where programmatic is really going and AI is going. Um,
Yeah.
and there's only so much you can do as humans. How many people do you want to reach out to?
Mhm.
Uh, One brand that was use programmatic very, very well in the early days was Procter and Gamble. While they were trying to do that and build different personas for their target audience, what they failed to also realize after a while was the fact that, yes, while they are trying to focus on those key target audience and primary target audience, you also forget that your secondary target audience will eventually become models at some point. And they realized
Yep.
that they needed to change their strategy, to be able to reach out to those people. So I'm always amazed at the way technology has moved. Another, I think, example I can think of is, I think it's in McDonald's and JC Deluxe, where you have
Mm.
an intersection between out of home and what's it called, digital.
Digital.
It
Nice.
use what's it called, bus stop signages to show ads in real time or contextual ads in real time, showing ads and the whole idea was to drive people from the bus stops to the nearest McDonald's where people could order breakfast. So they were able to, show ads that was talking about their McMuffins, for example. And that's what they
Yeah.
realized, that as they did it, showing that things like, oh, you are 300 meters away from the nearest McDonald's, and they were able to track the amount of footfall that actually came into the store. So that was a perfect example of where um, traditional marketing and digital
Digital.
were able to in synergy, in real time. An example of what has been done here in Nigeria, I think, will be with Heineken and the Champions League, where we're able to broadcast real-time scores of a Champions League game on electronic outdoor materials, at different locations, especially in Lagos. And people are
In
able to
viewing
follow up,
centers.
yeah, and all of that. So it made it very easy for people like, oh, okay, I'm seeing that billboard, I'm seeing the go, even though I'm stuck in traffic, but I can sort of catch up on what's happening in real time. So that's some of the ways technology is, pushing the boundaries of what we think it's possible.
These are very great examples. And I know we are going
Yeah.
to talk about the offline, online base. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But yeah, these are
Mhm.
very great examples. Programmatic on the ad side. With email, we have trigger-based campaigns.
Yeah.
With social, I spoke to a guest yesterday who gave me a social media, an AI social media management tool. So now AI can manage your social media community for you, which is crazy. And then we have ChatGPT that can help you to audit your article. There are so many of those. Your examples were very behavioral based, which is
Mhm.
really, really nice. And I think enterprises are they continue to reinvent themselves with this. What I could also add to it before I get to my next question is that yes, I know that it's the big boys that do this, those with deep pockets. But if you're a small business, you can also get creative. Creativity is free. Sometimes the execution is also free. Because now we're in an age
Yeah.
whereby there's so much democracy, you have access to premium tools, you can get stuff done. So it's
Mhm.
important for you not to shy away from being creative where you're trying to get into people's micro moments. But before then, like we said before, you need to clean up your house. You need to have every tracking involved. Now people are moving to GA4, they have no choice. But it also reminds them about their overall digital transformation.
Yeah.
Looking at, do I have all these channels optimized? Do I have the resources? Do I have everything ready to be able to get this done? So I just wanted to, mention that. Now,
Yeah.
imagine someone listening, Dotun, and they
Mhm.
want to start a multi-channel campaign. When it comes to like the high level process on how you typically start a multi-channel campaigns, in how do you do that? What are some of the high level steps that you typically would take? You could call it omnichannel or it's a lot of terms these days.
Experience.
Yeah, or
Okay.
experiential
So I
marketing too.
think, like I
Yeah, yeah,
mentioned,
yeah.
everything. All right. So I think the way I look at it is this: is first of all understanding. I mean, avoid. I don't want to sound like a broken record. Having a
Mm,
clear understanding of your objectives, obviously,
objectives.
is important.
Yeah.
But more
Mm,
importantly, is understanding the environment you find yourself in. What works or what is working and what's not working.
mm,
Obviously, budget also plays a very, very important role. So
mm,
that will, to a large extent, determine what you can and cannot do. Um, Nobody has an infinite budget. So your budget, to a large extent, also determines what. But more importantly, what you're looking for is efficiency. What is
okay.
going to allow you able to reach the most amount of people at the most cost-effective um,
Yeah.
rates.
Yeah.
I'll use Nigeria as an example. Back in the 80s, we only had what, 5 or 6 TV stations, how many radio stations. So it's very easy for you to be on all those radio stations and you are getting across to the whole country, more or
Mm,
less. Now,
mm,
the media is fragmented. In Lagos alone, you have, I can't even begin to count how many TV stations or how many radio stations you have. You can't afford to be
wow.
everywhere. Just the same way for digital as well, you can't afford to be on all the channels. So, like I mentioned previously, is to understand where are my customers or where are the people I'm trying to reach, and where in understanding that would help determine the channels to use. Whether I need to reach them using a mixture of traditional media and digital, depending on
Mm,
also looking at which traditional media is going to get the most mileage. Is it
mm,
TV? Is it radio? All of that also matter. But at the same time, like I said,
yeah.
your budget to a large
Yeah.
extent will also dictate what you want to do. The beauty of
Yeah.
digital is it's zero barrier to entry. So
Entry.
invariably,
Yeah.
um, it makes it much easier for you to reach. But at the same time, you have to understand who are the people you are trying to reach, where are they, and even from digital as well. Even though there's zero barrier to entry, the consumers, what kind of technology do we have? You're as much aware as I am, that even here in Nigeria, we have challenges reaching everybody everywhere because some people are
Yeah.
still on 2G places. Some people are still, um, don't even have network. So while
Mm,
you might have, plan to reach everybody, you might not necessarily be able to reach everybody because of certain limitations, either within your power or outside your power. So having an understanding of the environment you're dealing with, what they can have access to or what they can use. I'll give an example. There's certain
mm,
places in Nigeria that trying to run video ads is going to be a challenge because they don't have the network to be able to do it. Some cases they
mm,
have the
okay.
network, but data is too expensive. So why am I going to spend so much energy trying to reach out to people that cannot access or appreciate what I'm trying to offer them? So
Got it.
having a clear understanding of the target audience, their limitations or the challenges in the environment you find yourself in, also to a large extent also affect how that omnichannel approach you want to use. So what would work in Lagos would not necessarily work in other parts of the country.
Yeah.
Just the same way in having worked with agencies, and you are aware as well. You see people come and say, "Oh, I've seen this thing done abroad. It's fantastic. Why can't we do it in Nigeria?" And I'm like, um,
Yeah.
it's too expensive. We don't have the technology, or the
But it's not
market is just,
relevant.
or it's not relevant exactly. So those are the
Yeah.
things that we look that I'm not going to get that information from Google, but like I said,
Hmm.
that's what I call native intelligence, of going out there and understanding the people you're trying to reach out to. Um, Also would help you to determine what is going to work and what is going to give you the most effective bang for your buck.
Mm, mm, I see. And then afterwards, you just do your normal marketing flow, basically. We don't want to go through that, but I appreciate you focused on the house cleaning side of things because that's where most marketers always fall short. And
Mhm.
thinking to the subject of stakeholders or business leaders and their sentiments, what is your strategy for working with them? How do you convince them that this is the right marketing mix, not this one? Oh, I know you like this one. but we cannot
Yeah.
use this one because of this. Or even convincing them to use something. So, for example, you mentioned a channel might be expensive, but telling them, yeah, it's expensive, but if we invest in it, it can give us sustainable revenue.
Yeah.
How do you convince stakeholders to do that? Because, like it or not, it's a very difficult thing all over the world to
True.
convince stakeholders to do what they should or shouldn't. You still see some things online, you laugh and be like,
Yeah.
marketers still has a lot of work to do. So,
Oh, yeah.
what do you think about that?
So it's an ever-present challenge. And I think for me in my career, especially being one of the forebearers when it comes to digital in this market, it has been a challenge from day one to even till now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what is the biggest problem we have? At that senior management level or C-suite level, yes, they are looking at the business from a holistic approach, helicopter approach, and
Yeah,
invariably they can't. It's not that they don't want to, or they can't keep up with what is all the latest technology, and that's why, experts like us come into, to play. Um, but then at the bottom end of the, should I say work ladder, you have young, interesting people who are up to date, they are tech savvy and all of that stuff. So the job from people like us is to find that balance. Like I said,
mm-hmm.
only where they come from, they are looking at things from the holistic approach, which is the business of which this thing has to make money, or this thing
Yeah,
has to, I need to see how it's contributing to the bottom line of the business at the end of the day. Um, and it comes in one of many ways. Either using case studies, having data to be able to back up your rationale for why they need to use those tools or and things like that is very, very
yeah.
important. That in this part of the world can be quite challenging. And I will use myself as an example based on experience I've had, where they'll be like, "Oh, why do you think this is going to work or not going to work?" And I'll tell them like, "Look, I have been in this country or in this industry long enough to say I have seen what is possible and what's not possible.
Yeah.
And I can't necessarily give you data to be able to say this is going to work. But what I like about digital also is this: it allows you to experiment. I
Oh,
tell
yeah, you can
people
test.
both parts fail forward. So yes, let's try it. Let's test the waters. Don't jump in with your 2 feet in. Let's test the water. Let's see. Try for a couple of weeks. If it's not working, then maybe we might have to change our strategy. But like I mentioned earlier, I tend to be very cautious about jumping on the newest trend because you do not, I mean, we have a lot of technology that have come and gone. Where is Vine today that Twitter came up with? Where is Clubhouse that was raining during the
Elon
pandemic?
Musk.
That's not
Yeah.
technology that have gone. So it's not about just jumping on the newest trend. It's about looking at how do I marry the business objective and the marketing objective to be able to achieve my set goals and desire. But more importantly is finding the technology that's going to give me the biggest mileage. Love it or hate it, everybody's trying to run away from Facebook. Facebook has plateaued and all of that, while jumping to the newest platform, whether it's Instagram, Snapchat, Telegram, you name it. But the reality at the end of the day is this: love it or hate it, or Facebook still has the highest number of followers. So
Mm.
it's going to give me the highest number of mileage, even though we're now going into more smaller clusters, because now you now have decentralized platforms that are coming on board. You have Discord, you have you name them. It's quite a number of platforms that are now focusing on keeping people within, like-minded interests, as opposed
Yeah.
to general platform, a Facebook or an Instagram. So
Yeah.
for us is just you have to stay with what is happening in the market. What is happening? I ask people, why was TikTok so popular during the lockdown? Why is TikTok very popular compared to other platforms? They're not doing anything new, different from what everybody else is doing. But the beauty of TikTok is the fact that you do not have to be literate, quote unquote. All you just have to do is pick up the app, record, and speak in whatever language you want to speak. You will find an audience somewhere, somehow.
Yeah.
Um, But does it mean that brands have been very successful on TikTok? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
It's been a challenge. So the question is, do I need to put all my energy on TikTok because it's the latest trend? No. Yes. Do I have to be there? Yes. Possibly, depending on the nature of your brand. But at the same time, I would rather put more energy on where I am going to get physical ones. That's why I keep talking about the fact that understanding that subjective, where your customers are when it comes to digital space, and how best to be able to reach them would go a long way. And then also understanding which, if you want to do the whole marketing mix or omnichannel experience, where it's going to give me, whether it's radio, activation, experiential, direct marketing, or TV that's going to give you the money, you just have to understanding your environment, your customers, was I think is very, very important in the hierarchy of things before not thinking of even the channels or the tools to use.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that leaders should be aware of some of these nuances. It seems.
Yeah. Yes. But at the same time, so what you find is, and I'm no disrespect to a lot of the marketing leaders, what you find is that because digital is
No
coming
disrespect.
in, no disrespect, digital is coming in as, should I say, let me say the new kid on the block. What you
Mhm.
find is that a lot of people at that top level do not understand what digital is all about. So our
Yeah.
job as digital marketers is to constantly educate and re-educate them. Like I said,
Mm.
there's a huge gap at that top C-suite, management level where they don't understand they have ideas maybe because they are using it as well. But the science behind it, the rationale, the reason why I am choosing this platform over that platform, sometimes they don't understand.
Yeah.
The people at the junior ones at the bottom, yes, they are digital natives. But at the same time, does that mean that you understand the psychology behind why this app is this? I'm not, they are like intercessors in terms of trying to bridge that gap of that education. And our job is just constantly re-educating them on
Yeah.
why and why this is this and that is that. It's what I have had to do all my career till date. It's sometimes so painful to say that, I look back on some things when I've spoken to clients where I'm like, oh, we should try this thing. They're like, no, 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 no. And then 2, 3 years down the line, you see them doing the same thing you told them, oh, we could have done this,
Could
this
have
would have,
done.
and then now everybody's jumping and you're like, wow, I told them about this 4, 5 years ago. But that's the, should I say, the unfortunate, challenge that we find as the markets that we find ourselves as digital marketers.
Yeah, and that sometimes is another like different kettle of fish, if I would say that, because there are many
Yes.
other things involved in that. But I would like us to explore channels more. Now, while I was preparing for this, I found something really great where you were looking at the omni-channel experience. And
Mhm.
that is the fact that, of course, we know that people don't use more than one channel. But it does seems like based on different kinds of statistics around there, people use common channels. So I'll give you two examples and I would let you give more examples and, you know, say why we even need that information or not. If you are into radio, you might like podcasts because it's
Yes.
almost the same format. If you are into newspaper, you might or may or they send these magazines or stuff like that. You might
Yeah.
like newsletters because you
Yes.
like to read stuff, and so on. I can go on and on in terms of how people move in between traditional and digital media systems within their share of life, within their everyday. So what do you think
Yes.
about that? Do you think marketers should look into those things in order to say, okay, this is the segment I'm looking at. This is what they like in digital, but they also like a few things in traditional, either based on market benchmarks out there, or based on the data that you have, or based on just pure qualitative data, asking them questions. Is that an information that you think might be useful for us? And what are some of the other examples that you've seen from your own experience?
Okay, so I will not necessarily. I understand where you're coming from. I will not necessarily agree.
Okay,
And I mean, I will use you as guinea pig.
please.
We're already talking about multi. We're already talking about multi moments. So ask yourself, from the moment you've woken up till now, uh, if you take time and you can just do a day in the life, might not be now, maybe later, and just look at what are the apps you used from the moment you woke up till now. You will find out that there
Mm.
are multiple apps, whether be it from
Hmm.
entertainment or social to banking app or to whatever apps.
Yes,
And
backing
just
up.
using
Check, check that my money is not stolen.
exactly. Now, when you now intertwine that with offline. So I always tell people that impression people had initially when digital started was that, oh, digital is here, traditional or offline is on this side. And I'm like,
Mm.
no, we work hand in hand. And I'll give you an
Hmm.
example. Oh, there's what we call the first moment of truth. This is a model that was developed, I think, in the 70s or the 80s, which says
Okay.
that for you, will in making your purchase decisions or your decisions, you have to have a stimuli. The stimuli can
Mm.
be maybe a video ad, a TV ad, and then you obviously make a reaction. So maybe, for example, I go to I want to buy. Let me use a car as an example. You want to buy a car. I see a
Yeah.
radio ad or I see a TV ad and I'm like, wow, I like this car and I'm interested. So I go to the showroom. And then if for any way, I'm interested, I can proceed and then, go ahead to buy the car. Now,
Mm.
the reality, what we find ourselves now is that what we find ourselves in, there's a model Google came up with called the zero moment of truth. Is the fact that you have multiple stimuli, which goes both online and offline. And I'll use the
Mm.
car example as an example, continuing as well. That for that multi moment, all those micro moments from I want to know to I want to buy
Yep.
across board, across whole consumer journey, you are going to go across multiple touch points, both online and
Mhm.
offline, before you make your decision. So you want to
Yeah.
buy a car now, don't just see the ad that the company is running. You see the ad, you most likely want to do more investigation. You go and
Yeah.
watch videos, you read reviews, you speak to friends in terms of word of mouth, recommendations from friends. All of
Mm.
this, you are constantly crisscrossing between offline and online, back and forth, before you now
Okay.
finally make your decision. Plus or minus, Google estimates that you will go through about 10 sources before you make the final decision. So it's not
Mm.
that the impression we tend to make, or the mistake I think we make as marketers, not just as digital, is that people have this impression that, oh, the decision point was made, oh, because I saw this ad on Facebook or I listened to the ad on radio. No,
Mm.
there are a number of, if you actually sit down, you'll find out that there are multiple touch points you come across. Or you might have seen the ad in both online and offline before you now make that decision. So it's not just about people moving from traditional ways of doing things, maybe whether you used to read print to now reading newsletters. There are multiple touch points that influences your decision at the end of the day. I don't know if that's you understand where I'm coming
No, no, no,
from.
it does. And I guess your clarification is that it's not just about a two-channel race when it comes to what a
Yes.
specific individual is. It could be 10, it could be more, and that's why Google is now mandating data-driven attribution, because we may not actually know whether first click or last click or linear or time decay is the one that works for us and all that, fun stuff. And then we use technology to determine where I guess the spikes of intent are based on this channel, which is
Ex-
why, I get what you mean there, which is why tech is going to be very crucial. You mentioned HubSpot at the beginning, things like lead
Yeah.
scoring and things like that. Having technology determine intent, it's not a very easy thing. And nobody
No.
should say it's easy, but hopefully it gets easier. Your thoughts, yeah?
So what I
Mm.
tell people is this. I'm like, look, marketing is not just about, and that's a mistake with a lot of people. and share for digital, it's not about the technology. The
Mm.
principle still remains the same. Digital is just old wine in a new wine bottle.
Mm.
What marketing is all about, more about sociology and psychology. I
Yes.
need to be able to understand what is making that consumer, what is going to make that consumer give me my brand, their disposable income as opposed to another brand. Not necessarily
Mhm.
because I am the best brand. Why is it that somebody would rather buy Pepsi instead of buying Coke? So it's about
They
understanding
taste
the
almost the
psychology.
same.
Technology enabler. It would make your life to a large extent easy in terms of presenting your data. But if you don't
Yeah.
know how to nest that data to your use, then you're just wasting your time. But above
Yeah.
all, is understanding the psychology of why people do what they do. Why are they buying? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? When? What are those, triggers? Technology
Mhm.
cannot give you all that information. And that's why I said that that's intuitive nature of or native knowledge, as I say, of stepping out
Yeah.
there and aiding yourself with your consumers to be able to understand how do they think, how are they using your technology, or how they use technology from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep. So
Mm.
back to what you are saying also, even down to consuming content, also affects a lot of things. How are they going to use the content? Uh, um, Mm, you know, some people are only interested in watching short form content during
Yeah.
office hours and wait till when
Yeah.
they are home to be able to watch, long form content
Long
because
form.
time
Yeah.
or data, or,
Yep.
access to data and all of those things affects things.
Yeah. 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 It's I do agree on that. I do agree on the fact that the principles are the same. You also mentioned something about efficiency. So it's really trying to balance. I guess the basic it's important for us to double check whatever tech is enabling us to do for efficiency,
Yes.
to help us to make it be efficient for. So yeah, that makes sense there. This has been great so far. And I will not let you go until I ask a few more questions. But before then, I would
So,
like us to take a quick commercial break. If you are listening, this is the Marketing Leadership Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. We have great guests like this one with great content and, no pressure as well. So don't try listening to this with the intent to, uh, with some intensity, and make sure you enjoy yourself wherever you are listening to this episode. We will take the commercial break now. And when we'll be right back, I will be asking Dotun on some best practices. Welcome back. It's the Marketing Leadership Podcast with Dots from Dots Loves Marketing. And I'm here with Dotun Babatunde. We've been talking a lot about, multi-moment or omni-channel marketing strategies for multi-channel environments. And Doctor, I've got this question for you. When it comes to these multi-channel campaigns, I feel that there is always a sense of confusion when you are trying to measure attribution. When you are trying to do A/B testing, you want to know what moved the needle and where the needle moved and when the needle was moved. So there's a lot of needle things going on.
yeah.
But with that said,
Mhm.
how do you have an analytical or marketing intelligence system that is well coordinated and well organized, so that whatever we are doing with data and this campaign is clear, and we are not really confused. So that's a very important point. I'd like to get your perspectives on that.
Yeah. So that's how what you just mentioned just has always been a challenge when it comes to
Mhm.
understanding attribution and market efficiency. On this part of the world, it gets maybe e-commerce is probably the closest in terms of I can actually see the effectiveness of my ads because I can track everything through the whole ecosystem. But when you're mixing it with
Mm.
traditional marketing where in this environment, 80% of sales are done in the open market. How can I
Mm.
necessarily attribute the fact that this purchase was made because somebody saw my radio ad or somebody saw my TV, listened to my radio ad or saw my TV ad, or because of what they saw as what we do, the best thing is to do, test, which is to do brand health tracker. It can be done on a monthly basis. It can be done on a quarterly basis. There are always questions about the effectiveness. Oh, how can you really say that? Oh, it's this particular channel that contributed to it. But what I tend to say is that look, there are also other things that are also at play that are beyond our control.
Yep.
As marketers, to be able to say this is what has really, really affected. Oh, the reason why people are buying, or the reason why people are not buying, and things like that. So yes, doing a brand health test or a brand audit would allow you to be able to understand where your brand is in terms of brand awareness, what's it called, market share, and things like that, to be able to
Yeah.
measure your effectiveness in the market. But not depending on tools in terms of attribution and all that stuff in this part of the world, it's a bit challenging. Like I said, adoption rate for digital is still pretty low compared to most parts of the world. We do not operate a closed loop market. So
Mm.
it's still early days when it comes to that. In more, in the Western world, yes, probably might be much easier, but we're still few years behind when it comes to that area.
I know,
I hope
I know.
that's
I mean, it's more shorter now, but yeah, I understand what you mean when it comes to that. But I guess
yeah.
it's about going back to the principle, right? Going back to the
Yes.
principle and looking at the A/B testing or the brand health check. Yeah, it's been a while I heard that. Brand health check is very, very key. And those is usually commissioned to like an agency or a consultancy like PwC or something like that. Yeah, this is not sponsored by
Maintenance.
PwC. Yeah, but
Yeah.
many of these consultancy brands, they have all the resources to be able to, I guess, make their attribution their problem to solve. So
Yeah.
that's a very good I guess good angle with it. The last bit is still on analytics. And a lot of solutions have been coming up within different channels and platforms on how offline data can be harnessed. So things like with Google Ads, for example, you are able to integrate with your CRM, not just Google Ads, most of these other platforms across email and social. And
Mhm.
CRM often gets offline data, and looking at your maybe just an Excel file and some of these other things in terms of like the integration. But I would like you to see what the future holds. You've run a lot of experiential campaigns that tie both worlds together. But what
Yeah.
does the future holds in terms of better, I guess, data flow between the online world and the offline world, and how to make that attribution? What do you see the future looking like?
So I'd say a lot of things are going to happen, of which we're already seeing some of them gradually. You mentioned
Okay.
something, AI, artificial intelligence and machine learning is going to play a huge role in the way we are going to be able to merge data.
Yeah.
Where everybody's doing now either business analysis or data analysis, and is going to be looking at how are we going to be able to look at data across, platforms,
Yep.
online and off, and being able to merge everything together. Um, Now being able to also gather this data is going to be much easier with things like 5G coming on board. We're able to be able to get data in real time and things like that compared to before. Would also
Yeah.
allows us to be able to take timely decisions or time sensitive decisions on certain things. Well, I see a lot of things that are going to improve when it comes to technology. Mobile is still going to be very, very big. Video marketing also would, in line with also obviously, what's it called? I see things like proximity marketing also coming into play now more
Mm,
than ever before, where I can reach you in real time with personalized content or ads or whatever
mm,
are going to be when in terms of pushing those barriers and what's it called. But more important, I think AI and machine learning is going to play a huge role of bridging that gap between online data and, what's called offline data and merging them together. And more importantly, also being able to present in a way that's easy for us to be able to make sense of it and also present to the various stakeholders
Yep.
as a, yeah. So I think, I mean, the future with AI when it comes to digital, we are still just, we have a deep
Scratching the surface. Okay.
and we're scratching the surface. And I personally think personalization is going to go, really, really extreme
I,
when it
we,
comes to
I can't wait for
digital marketing.
personalization. We've been
Because
waiting
the
for
way
it for many years.
yeah, yeah. But I think now it's with AI, machine learning, and 5G, especially, I see a huge possibility with that. I see things like virtual reality ads, augmented reality ads, playing also a very key role in the world, in marketing going forward. So, and then also, like you mentioned, how do we also bring, in terms of measurability to a lot of the things we are doing offline? So
Mm.
how am I able to track, for example, the amount of people listen to a radio station or a radio program in real time? How many people are watching, seeing a outdoor material in real time and able to get that data? And then, imagine what I'm doing online or be able to make real-time decisions. So I see there's
Yeah.
huge opportunity for the future of marketing as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Those are great points there. And I want to thank you for a fantastic chat.
Thank you.
Premium marketing wisdom, as I usually would say. Um, looking a lot of things are being discussed all over the world. But these are one of the underserved topics, the kinds of things that will actually make it happen. There's a lot of demand gen gist right now all over the
Yeah.
world, but you can't do that without having a multi-moment or an omni-channel digital transformative ecosystem for your
Yes.
marketing operations. So where
Mhm.
can aspiring marketing leaders find you for guidance, or if it's businesses that are looking to get you to inspire others?
So yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I believe that's where a lot find me. On Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, which I barely use. Well, those are my
Mm,
major forms. And then I'm here in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm a chat away from any discussion on digital. I'm always happy to discuss about digital because equally I'm learning like everybody else. So I'm not at the fountain of knowledge. So as you're
absolutely.
learning,
Yeah,
yeah. So I'm always open to discuss and help wherever I can.
absolutely. And if you are hearing this and you happen to drop in to Lagos, Nigeria, make sure you give Dotun a shout, because not only you would get insight on marketing, you also get good food. Remember at the beginning of the episode, he said he's a very good cook. So I just wanted to make
Uh,
sure you remember that as well. Well, guys,
yeah.
that's everything we have for today. Please see more episodes at dotslovesmarketing.com. Subscribe to the Marketing Leadership Podcast on Apple and Spotify. Till next episode, connect the dots.
Thank you for listening to the Marketing Leadership Podcast, brought to you by Listen Network. There will be links to resources mentioned in today's show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode.